Hi, this is Whiskey Fellow, and I'd like to thank you for showing interest in my ninth annual 30 Days of Bourbon Challenge. To give you a little bit of background, this started off 9 years ago because I wanted to attend the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. That's not happened yet, but I do this challenge every year instead. This is about two things. The first is doing great things in the name of bourbon, which is called Bourbon Karma, and sampling 30 different bourbons one a day over the period of 30 days. And the reason that we do the latter is we want people to explore what might be hiding in their cabinet, or getting together with friends, or going to a great whiskey bar and trying something maybe they haven't tried before. The 30 different bourbon part, though, is what trips some people up. And I'll just keep this as simple as possible. There's four differentiators. The first is proof. You cannot do Wild Turkey 81 and Wild Turkey 101 and call that two different bourbons, because it's not. It's the same bourbon, just in a different batch. The next is, some people think Tennessee whiskey is not bourbon. Legally, it is, and for the sake of this contest, we allow Tennessee whiskey. The next has to do with single barrel bourbons, and this is directed to things like Blanton's or any other common single barrel whiskey. And that is that you've got to have different barrel numbers. Those count as different whiskeys. If you're playing with Blanton's, for instance, having all the horsey toppers with the same barrel number doesn't count as a different bourbon. So you gotta have different barrel numbers on that. And the last has to do with sourced whiskeys. Some of the bigger names is MGP, Dickel, or Barton, but it doesn't matter. You can use those, because what happens is the brands typically do something different with those whiskeys anyway, so they really do wind up being different bourbons for this 30 days challenge. The thing to keep in mind is you can drink other things. You don't need to regulate yourself to only bourbon. However, only bourbon counts. So if you want to have a scotch and then a bourbon, that bourbon that day counts, the scotch that day does not. So the first thing I want to talk about is the 30 Days of Bourbon calendar. And this is meant to help you log what you are drinking. You can use it to plan things out. I have the rules on the bottom as to what you need to do, so they're always handy there for you. And you can download this free from my website. And I'm going to flip this around here so that you can see that. And it's whiskeyfellow.net. The second part of this, the Bourbon Karma, is the shouting out for your charity. And what happens there is, at the end of the bourbon challenge, I ask that you donate at least $30 to a charity of your choosing. You want to donate 50 or 100, that's great too, but the minimum ask is 30. And it's very important that when you post on social media, that you give a shout out to your charity, because awareness is really the biggest hurdle that most of them face. Tag Whiskey Fellow and hashtag 30 Days of Bourbon. Just have fun with this thing. If you don't have a charity in mind, I support every year the Reflex Sympathetic Dystrophy Syndrome Association, because they deal with chronic regional pain syndrome, which is something that Mrs. Whiskey Fellow deals with and has dealt with for over a decade. But again, make sure that you shout out daily who your charity is. That's going to help them. Feel free to tag them. And if you want, give the website, such as I did here, as to what the donation link is. So the thing to keep in mind here is the 30 Days of Bourbon Challenge is not meant is not meant to be stressful. It's meant for you to have fun, discover new pours, give back, and most importantly, to drink responsibly. Thanks for taking part in this challenge, and good luck. Cheers.